Greetings, everybody. This session is Meet the Graduates for those in data science and similar fields. And the plan today is to give you a chance to meet some University of Manchester graduates who now work in a variety of, with a variety of employers, but all with a theme of data management, and generally just providing, using their skills in different ways, depending on what their degree background has been. But we hope we're going to have a varied panel, as you can see up on screen, from different parts of the university, hopefully inspirations and source of questions for you in the audience today. My name's Ben, I'm a member of the Career Service, and my job today really is just to manage questions as they come in. To do that, there are options. If you wish to unmute and throw us a question, what I just suggest is throw your hand up first, using a hand raising tool at the bottom of the screen. If instead you would prefer to ask a question in the chat, that's absolutely fine. I was just saying that, yeah, the other way to ask questions is in the chat here. And we have a bank of questions. If you feel you're not comfortable asking questions of your own yet, we have some suggested discussion topics, should you wish. And that is just popping up in the chat now as a PDF file. So to get things started, I'm going to ask our panel members to do some introductions for us. James, could we start with you, please?
Sure. Thanks, Ben. Hi, my name's James Asher. I did the MSc in economics. I graduated in 2018, I think, maybe 2017.
Welcome back.
Thanks. And I now work as a data scientist at the Solicitors Regulation Authority in London.
Fantastic. Rosemary, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. So hi, everyone. I'm Rosemary. I did a master's in data science, graduated in 2020. So the year that the pandemic hit and we all went into lockdown. So that was a very interesting time. I went on to work at a marketing firm first after uni, and now I'm currently working at PlayStation.
Fantastic. Ilhan, do you want to go next?
Yep, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Ilhan. I've graduated with a bachelor degree in management, graduated in 2017, and I'm currently working as a business analyst at Pearson, the product data team.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. I'm going to open it up to the floor. So if anybody has got a question to open with, then please feel free. As I said before, if you want to stick a hand up, unmute, and ask your question live, that is perfectly fine. We are well up for that. But if you want to send me a question directly, then that's fine as well. Or if you're happy to announce your question to the room, just throw it in the chat. But you have the option to direct message myself or Sarah here. So if you prefer to do it that way. What's your average day in work? And we'll maybe pass this one around the panel as we go, but it's gone to you first, Rosemary. You are up.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for your question. My average day at work. So it's actually, I would say it's pretty chilled. So I work 9 till 5:30. In terms of meetings, I have probably maximum 2 meetings a day. The rest of the time is spent on completing your tasks. I don't know if people have worked using Scrum, like agile management, project management before. It's probably something that a lot of people are going to end up working with. But it requires basically different tickets to be created, depending on what project you have. And then you have something called a sprint. So for us, it's 2 weeks. And over that 2 weeks, you have to complete those various tickets. So basically, that's what I spend each 2 weeks doing. And I mean, for me, I would say it's pretty chilled, but maybe for other people, it's different. So hand over to someone else.
Nice. Ilhan, do you want to take that one for us?
Yep, sure. So my day is a bit different than Rosemary's. So I don't work in an agile environment. We use waterfall, which is the normal way of working. I work quite a lot with colleagues from the US on all the change requests that I have to deal with. So the way my day looks like is in the morning before my US colleagues log in, I deal with my normal work, I would say, ticking off tasks and everything. And then the afternoon somehow gets quite meeting heavy. So that's when we all get together to discuss the progress and if there are any issues or outstanding tasks that anyone has to deal with to progress with the project at that point in time. So yeah, I'd say probably 50-50. It's not always meeting heavy, but it depends on how many projects I'm working on and how many people are involved in a specific project.
Okay, thanks for that. James, that leaves you. I guess what does the day look like where you are?
Yeah, it's pretty chill, to be honest. It's pretty similar to Rosemary by the sounds of things. Because I work in legal regulation, the company I work for it's about 1,000 people, but most of them are lawyers and they don't understand numbers very well. So there's just kind of a small team of data scientists that kind of just we kind of just do what we want, and that's probably not a good way to say it, but we just kind of get sort of ad hoc requests, we fill them out, and then we sort of do what they call it wizardry, we call it machine learning, but we kind of just float along. Really, it's quite chill. Okay,
that's good to know. Now, I do have a couple other questions coming in here. I am just curious, though. Obviously, Rosemary, you took your master's in data science, so that suggests a certain impetus, wanting to pursue this. Can I just James, I'm going to stay with you. Did you see this as being your next step? Working in data this way. Was it planned? Was it something which you stumbled upon? And yeah, I'll kind of move back around the panel in the opposite direction.
Yeah, sure. So I did the master's in economics, and I hung around a bit and published a paper with some of the professors at the university in basically econometrics. I'm not sure if anyone here studies economics, but it's kind of the statistical side of economics. Then I went on to do a bit of research at the Solicitors Regulation Authority in econometrics. And there's a data scientist sat next to me and basically just realized that we were doing the exact same thing. Econometrics and data science are very similar, sort of two sides of the same coin. They all start with linear regressions and they move up. So yeah, in some sense I fell into it, but in some sense I kind of knew what I was doing because I enjoyed econometrics.
Fair enough. Ilhan, similar question.
So I'd say mine is a bit different because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do after graduating. So I sort of went through some options because I did have quite a few roles until today with different organizations. I did know it had to be something sort of technical, I would say, that involves numbers and everything. I know that's the area that I like. My creativity is really, really low. So I guess I sort of worked my way through different roles to further understand what suits me and what I'd like to do. And I think data is definitely where I see myself for the future. Okay,
useful to know. Rosemary, can we come to you on that? Because again, having taken the masters, then it does suggest that you definitely wanted to do this. But how did that develop?
Yes, so it wasn't always that way. Basically, my background is in maths. I studied at Cardiff University, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do afterwards. And I thought, I'm good with numbers, and loads of people went on to do an accounting qualification. So I was like, I'm going to copy them. I'm going to do accounting as well. And I got through 1 year of it, and I just thought, this is not for me. I mean, it might be for some people out there, but it was just way too dull. I didn't really get what was happening in the exams. And then I thought back to my degree and what I enjoyed, and I really loved the coding side. So I thought, what job can I do that involves coding? Data science came up. It was a pretty cool job, I guess, at the time to have. And then I decided that going down the master's route would be the best way. So I do want to be a data scientist now. I love it, and I'm glad I chose it, but it wasn't always like that.
Useful to know. And I think for the purposes of those in the room just listening to this, that kind of range of, I suppose, the different ways in which you found your way into this career is useful to hear, because there may be many different just thought processes in progress right now as to how this could fall out for people. Now, we've got plenty of questions coming in. So some of you may already be looking at, I suppose, where the career is going to take you in terms of what the next steps are for you. Questions come in around, how does one undertake further study, for example? So, I mean, Rosemary's is an example of having done the formal master's course. But are any of you aware of like formal training courses, or do your companies like help you to develop your skills in different ways? Does that work? Or how does that work for some of you? Patrick, hello again. We'll get you introduced as a panelist in just a second. Ilhan, do you want to open on this one for us?
Yeah, sure. So for me, at my current job, there were no formal qualifications, I'd say, required, or there's nothing that I'm being told to do. However, the company is really keen on the learning and development side of employees. So, for example, me being in data, I can go ahead and do any data management qualifications. I'll show you just a second. This is my Bible at the moment. So I'm going through this to prepare for a qualification because I thought it would help me with my work. At the same time, I can go down the route of doing the business analyst qualification as well, because I do work a lot with stakeholders and gathering requirements.
Okay.
So that's something that the company encourages us to do. Like, if there's anything that things will help you with your role and your development, then just let us know and we'll find a way to do it. So that's something that I'm really happy with, I could say.
Nice. James, similar question. I guess, do you see people undertaking further training? Have you had that option yourself?
Yeah, sure. I think most companies now will sort of give you a budget to sort of spend on yourself. I usually see it on job descriptions. Usually give you £500 or £1,000 a year to sort of spend on yourself on training courses and such. But yeah, I think a lot of the big ones, sort of AWS seems to be quite a popular one now. A lot of these Google certificates seem to be quite popular, and they're usually quite helpful in getting a job.
Indeed. I'm just going to say, for the purposes of the live transcript, when you were saying you get £500 to £1,000 a year, the transcript picked up £500,000 a year. No, sorry, folks. If anybody, hello, those of you in the future watching the recording, you don't get £500,000 a year for training. But
blame the Scottish accent; they never understand these things.
Rosemary, just before I introduce Patrick, or ask Patrick to introduce himself, Rosemary, any further thoughts on how you see kind of the training options and where people go forward with their career?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I did my master's in data science. So obviously gave me a great start in my career. But where the first company I worked for, actually, I worked with a data scientist who didn't do a master's in data science, and he taught himself programming online, like loads of different online courses. And then I think you just have to be lucky with the company you get, whether they're willing to take you on without a master's. Or I think loads of companies are actually really nice, and they would take whatever training you have. But yeah, that's it in my case.
Smashing. We will jump to another question in just a second, but Patrick, do you want to say hello again? I appreciate that you've had to jump off the call and jump back on, but were there a second ago? There we go. Patrick, hello. Thank you for joining us. Apologies that we've been in and out a bit. Do you want to do a quick intro for us? How long have you been gone from Manchester? What did you study? Where do you find yourself now?
So I've been gone from Manchester for how many years now? 2022, 2023. So 2 to 3 years. I studied two things. I studied medicine, and then I also studied medical sciences with a specialism in reproductive and developmental sciences. And what was the final question? Sorry.
And what do you find yourself doing now?
Oh, so now I work as a data scientist, specializing in interpretation and visualization of data for the NHS.
Smashing. Now, just because we've been around a few of the others, and is that a role you could have seen yourself going into when you first embarked on your studies, or has it evolved over time?
Yeah, I definitely say it's evolved over time. It's like, as a child, I could have, or even when I was at university, if somebody had said, oh, sorry, I think somebody's come one in the waiting room, sorry.
Thank you.
If somebody had said to me, you could be a data scientist, I wouldn't have been so sure. You know, like some people want to be assured that they want to go into like specific niches within data sciences already at a university undergraduate level or even at postgraduate level. But for me, it was always, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a surgeon, I want to be this, that. Some people want to do different things, but I think because data is so ubiquitous in today's world, you can come at it from whatever angle you want. As I think Ilhan was saying, like you could maybe not be so creative, but then still come into data science. Working with patients, I think, means that you have to have an element of creativity because of the it means that you have to be quite creative because the data is so complex that you always have to be thinking kind of on your toes about how you're going to help out the patients best. Yeah.
Indeed. Well said. I think, you know, in terms of the range of different degree backgrounds we've got in this breakout room, I think it's going to be the same in the other half. But it is fascinating to see how people wind up in this career, or this range of careers, I should say. So Taha's got a question there around any recommendations, content to follow on LinkedIn, blogs to follow, industry updates, I suppose insider knowledge. You know, where do you get your information from? You know, how do you stay up to date with trends in the industry? Rosemary, do you want to kick us off with that?
Yes, sure. I don't go on LinkedIn that much, I'm not going to lie. I have it, but I feel like I don't really do much on there. But I think my favorite, basically at uni, I was taught Python. We mainly worked in Python in data science. But my first job I went into was R. And this woman called Julia Silge is an amazing whiz at R, and she teaches you loads of things about models, how you can use R to do modeling and stuff. And I think every week she would post a different video, and that really taught me how to use that. So for me, that was the best thing that I could have used to learn.
That sounds amazing. If there is a link or something you wouldn't mind posting in the chat just as we go around the panel, that would be a really useful thing for everybody to have. Thank you. Sure. Patrick, can I jump back to you to ask you, is there anything that kind of you go to as a resource, if there's, again, LinkedIn, people that you follow, or other things you think you should share with our audience?
Yeah, so I follow somebody called I think he's the chief of data science in the US government. Patil, I think his name is Patil. Then some people as well from alumni because I studied at Imperial as well for a period of time. So I did a medical sciences degree from Imperial. So I studied what this guy called Trishan Panch is doing. I'll write his name in the chat now. Dr. Trishan Panch. From Imperial.
Great, that's good to hear. James, anything you'd suggest as resources people should be aware of?
Sure. Well, once you get into work, Stack Overflow is your best friend. If you can't solve a problem, that you'll find it on there. But I think one thing that's quite good for me is Medium. It's this kind of writing website, but there seems to be this sort of large data community on there. So there's publications called sort of Towards Data Science, which I've written for a few times. Basically, people write articles on there about how to do different things. So if you follow these sort of publications, there's lots of fun stuff to be found on there.
That's good to know. And yeah, if you don't mind, even if there's not a link that you don't have to find that immediately, but if you don't mind just putting in the names of some of those so that people can look them up afterwards, that would be grand. Ilhan, you look primed, ready to go.
Yeah. So I don't really have anyone specific or any specific place where I go, to be honest, to stay up to date. If I hear about something that's interesting to me, that's when I'll go and do my research on it and try to find out more. So I guess various sources, I would say. Yeah, nothing and no one specific. I'll probably take some of the names that have been posted in the chat and start from there as well.
Okay, fair enough. So other questions coming in now. This is definitely a two-part one. This because somebody's asked, what are the tools most frequently used in daily work? We've had a couple mentioned already. I mean, Python obviously is kind of the foundation, I suppose. But yeah, I guess there's a lot of different ways that you could, attack some of the problems you've got. James, if we came back to you, what are the tools most frequently used in your daily work?
Yeah, mostly Python. Like similar to Rosemary, I did a bit of R in the past, but I don't really use much of that anymore. It's mostly just the sort of universe around Python, so things like sort of Jupyter notebooks and sort of understanding things like Git and how to use that, as well as things like Anaconda Navigator and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, mostly Python and its universe and other various packages that come with it.
Is it fair to say that that is going to be the thing that most people who want to embark on this career need to get their foundation in?
I'd say so, yeah. But, see if everyone else agrees.
Rosemary, if we come to you on that one.
Yes, no, I agree. Python is, well, one of the languages at least, Python or R. I actually use SQL probably more than anything at PlayStation. It definitely varies from company to company. My previous one didn't use SQL at all, but for me, that's a really important tool to use. But I mean, there's so many online resources that I think people can teach themselves coding. So, yeah.
Indeed. Patrick, your thoughts in terms of what you're using daily to manage your work?
Yeah, so I've trained. Well, yeah, I'll go through all of the big. I call it the big three. So I SQL, R, and Python. So those for data science, but then there's so many other bits around it. So SQL I did some training in initially once I joined the NHS, but then you've got data engineers really. So I'm a data scientist, so that's really a specialism for data engineers. So although you should have an awareness for it, if you're within a cohesive team, you don't necessarily need to do as much of that as a scientist. Okay. Then R is probably the bread and butter of my work in the NHS. But if you're just getting started, I think Python can be daunting, especially if you use it with Anaconda Navigator. That's an awful way, for me personally, to manage packages. Pip is better, like where you just download it directly onto your system. And there's other ways. So if you have, if you use, oh sorry, let me just turn it down a bit. Yeah, there's other ways that you can manage it other than Anaconda Navigator. I think is a bit, it can oversimplify things, and it's cluttery, and you have to continue keep updating to each version of Anaconda. What I would say is start off with something like Microsoft Power BI, Excel, and Tableau. Tableau is really good, and you can make a lot of money with Tableau independently.
Useful to know. Ilhan, I'm going to come back to you on this in terms of like your daily tools.
Yep. Well, apart from Teams and Outlook, which I use a lot because there's a lot of collaboration involved in the work that I'm doing in my role, I say for me, it's mostly ways of, keeping track of the progress of the projects that I'm working on and the change requests that I'm working on, because having so many people involved, me as the business analyst, which somehow links the business with the technical side, I need to keep everything updated and have it ready if someone wants to see the progress or if there's an update. So we use Confluence a lot. Another software called Smartsheet. So both are used for example, when I get a new change request, so someone says, we need to change this. What I start doing is starting a new Confluence page where I would put the name, who requested this change, why this change is needed, and then start populating it with what the main requirements are, what the proposed solution is, what are the benefits. So just updating that page constantly until we get the final point where the change is deployed, and that's when that page will just be archived, so we can just visit it back whenever is needed. So yeah, I'd say those are the ones that I mostly use with my work.
Thank you all. We may just, if we can quickly dance around. Oh, sorry.
I had a question for Ilhan about Jira and Confluence and which one he uses.
I don't use Jira. So the technology team, they use Jira, but myself, I don't. I just use a normal Confluence page where you can just add text and tables and just update it as you go through work.
Thanks for that. So I'm conscious that we're going to be swapping panels over in a second. So can I just, I'm going to throw out the second part of that question to everybody, which was around job hunting. And when you, back when you were last doing this, what did you find the most challenging part of that when it came to finding roles in the data sphere? Let's see, Rosemary, if we went to you first with that.
Yeah, I mean, when I was first looking for data science jobs, that was still during the height of the pandemic. So everything was a bit up in the air. That was just a bit of a stressful time in general, I would say. But I would say LinkedIn was my friend. I know I said I don't really use LinkedIn, but for job hunting, that's definitely the main thing that I ended up using. And I think there was, I can't remember the name. I'll try and remember the name. There's a job recruitment website which was really good for tech jobs as well, and okay. that was great as well.
Fantastic, thank you. James, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'd agree. Was it Otta you were thinking of, Rosemary? Yeah, Otta's pretty good. Yeah, they're very good to use because I'm in the process of changing jobs at the moment actually, and they're very good as they basically they monitor all the jobs and they don't post anything that's not live, and they check every day that everything's still live. Because a lot of the time from things like LinkedIn, you can apply for a job that's been closed for 2 weeks and you just don't know about it. So Otta are pretty good at sort of keeping on track of those things. But yeah, between LinkedIn and Otta, that's the way to go, I think.
Fantastic, thank you. Ilhan, Patrick, anything to throw in terms of what you've used in the past?
I personally used LinkedIn. So that's my go-to for looking for a role.
Fair enough. And Patrick, well, I guess we'll close out this panel with your thoughts on, I guess, as having sort of worked within in the NHS, have you been sort of looking internally for roles there, or do you use other tools as well?
Hello to your cat, by the way.
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah. So yeah, I wouldn't like to leave the NHS because of the support the NHS does give. You were mentioning at the beginning about investment into its employees, and you can't beat the NHS, in my humble opinion, for that, unless you're maybe in the civil service. The civil service also apparently do a great job, but I couldn't speak on that because I work within the NHS. But maybe civil service jobs or the Graduate Centre Health scheme that the NHS runs, or LinkedIn as well, because you can get some jobs via LinkedIn as well. So.
Fantastic. Thank you for all your opinions. Now, I believe we're at the point where we can swap our panels around. So on to panel 2. Hello, panel 2. Thank you for joining us back here in the main Zoom room. We're now going to do introductions again and repeat that panel process you've just been through. So, Abdulrahman, could I just ask you to start us off, please, with who you are, what you studied, and when that was, and where you are now?
Yeah, so hello everyone, my name is Abdulrahman. I did civil engineering at University of Manchester, finished the bachelor's in 2016, and then I did a master's in structural engineering, finished that in 2017. I did 2 years worth of engineering, and then I chose to switch to data, and now I'm a data analyst at the HUT Group in Manchester.
Fabulous, thank you very much. Eleni, do you want to take us on from there?
Yes, sure. It's been a long time since I finished my MSc at the University of Manchester. I did it in computer science, advanced computer science. After that, I did my PhD again at the computer science on artificial intelligence and ontology engineering. That was 10 years ago, so I finished nearly 2012. And then after that, I did a a quick fellowship, and then I got into the BBC, where I work since then, into multiple roles as a data architect and engineer lately.
Okay, thank you very much. Daria, that leaves you.
Hi, I'm Daria. I'm a data analyst graduate at AutoTrader. I did politics, philosophy, and economics from 2018 to 2021. And yeah, I finished uni on the Friday, and then I started this job on the next Monday. So I had a 2-day break. So that is basically all I have been doing. I was a student a year ago, and I've been on the grad program for a year and something. So yeah.
Fantastic. We've got, I guess, a range of experiences, a range of degree backgrounds. This is really useful to know, and I hope useful for our audience to just get that sense of the range of different ways you can come into this profession. Now, we've already had questions come up for the previous panel. I'm actually going to pick up there because it seems only fair that those folks should get their questions answered. Let's see where we got to. Now. Let's see. We finished talking about sort of the job hunting process. We had sort of thoughts on using LinkedIn, using Otter as a way to look for roles. I'm going to carry on with the next question after that, which was, do you see yourself moving into a different industry but still doing data science? Eleni, could I start with you there, because you've obviously worked in different areas, and how has that progression been for you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't work with data science. I did data science during my PhD degree, but then I joined as a data architect, so it's very different. There was some kind of overlap of skills that I had to use there. And then from being a data architect, a year ago, I moved into being a principal data engineer, which again focuses more around the programming side. So that was, all of these leaps were kind of leaps. They seem like easy steps, but actually it requires a bit of thinking, especially moving to a data engineering role. I had to consider, persuade the people who were hiring me that I was really good at Python skills, because it's not the main core skill, the programming when you work as a data architect, although I use it. So I guess you can switch the different roles, but I think what is important is what are the main soft skills, what is the benefit you provide to the team or the industry, and how you can help your teammates. And if you really want to move to something else, or just try, just go for it. I don't think because you followed a career as within a specific data role that you have to stick with that the whole time. You can switch if you want to. Just try it, and if you don't like it, you can switch back to what you wanted to do.
Indeed. I mean, from my perspective as a careers consultant, trying to help people understand this area, it does seem, well, first there is a wide variety of roles in the sphere that you can go into, and that it can be quite transferable. Daria, I guess same question. Having spent some time at AutoTrader, you don't have to tell us whether you're planning to jump ship, but are there other directions you would like to consider one day?
So being a data analyst at AutoTrader offers you plenty of variety to do in your job. So I have done classic things that you would expect as a data analyst. So data visualization and just preparing reports and things like that. I'm also doing more techie bits. So within the data mesh, I'm creating data products, for example. I'm also doing data sciencey bits, so I can get involved in analysis. I can do data exploration and things like that. So because the role is so broad, you have the opportunity at AutoTrader to do mostly anything that you like or that you really take a keen interest into. So for example, I quite like doing the data products techie things right now. So I feel like it's a really good thing for that. I feel like being a data analyst here really gives you the opportunity to kind of choose in a way.
Indeed. Well, good to know. And I guess having that range of opportunity, where you currently sit, it's good to have that at your fingertips. Abdulrahman, same question. THG, it's well known as here on the doorstep in Manchester, but how do you find it there? And are there other things you might wish to consider one day?
In 2 weeks, I'm going to be moving companies. Yeah, so essentially, when it comes to moving company and taking your skills with you, skills are very transferable, whether you're doing analysis or whether you're doing science. Well, when it comes to engineering, it's a whole different ballpark, different skill set, different a lot of things. But when it comes to analysis, it's really very company based. Like Daria's program, I'm quite jealous because she seems like she's doing a lot of nice things, which I want to do. But again, it's role based. So where I sit right now, I'm really close to the execs. So anything we do has to be super simplified and like actionable as quick as you can. So when it comes to that, there's not much breadth in our role. It's just like tunnel vision.
Okay.
But when it comes to other skills, I mean, it's always nice to, well, if you're jumping ship like me, it's always nice to go to another company because it comes with its challenges. So you have to learn their tech stack, you have to learn their way of doing things. And THE is very strong technically. So we've got like very good data engineers, very good data scientists. So I'm quite spoiled in that sense. Whereas if I go to another company, I may have to do my own pipelines, which again, different challenges, but I like a challenge.
Indeed. Well,
Just to add,
go on,
just to add something that Daria said, I also have I've been lucky to work with an organization that works with so many different teams. For example, I've worked with editorial team to see how data can help them in their production process. So this is some skill, like I didn't know anything about production or UX skills. It's something you learn on the job, and it's really great to be like in a company that actually exposes you to different professions, because you see your role, how it fits within the whole organization, and you definitely expand your soft skills, which you can use them at the later stage.
That's really useful. Thank you, because I think you've all illustrated different aspects of the next question, which was, could you describe, a project or something similar that you found interesting or challenging? And we've had aspects of that, I think, from all of you in terms of what can be more challenging aspects of the role. I'm going to conflate that with something specifically for Daria here, which was how challenging was the transition from social science to data science, and to anything you'd recommend for someone wanting to do something similar?
So what is really good about joining the grad scheme at AutoTrader is that they don't really require you to have studied in data analysis or tech or even do a BSc in order to join. So that was really, really useful. Now, I did do my best to show I'm interested by taking more statistics, econometrics kind of modules in my PP degree, but I would say it doesn't even matter that if you just show that you've taken some interest in your personal time to learn more about it, learn a programming language, even the basics, watch things online and do courses, and just in general show that you're interested. I would say that's already pretty good. So I was quite lucky applying to AutoTrader on that aspect, but definitely if you can just bring anything that you have been looking into data related, that's quite a plus. But if anything really matters is that you're interested about the job. So a lot of the learning you will be doing in the job anyway. So as long as you show that you are open to learn, that you're interested, that you care about the job that you're applying for, it's likely that it's not going to be a very hard transition anyway.
Indeed. I mean, Eleni, Abdulrahman, you as having, I suppose, a computer science engineering backgrounds, do you see colleagues who have also had to make a transition to, to this area? Is there anything you'd recommend for people to try and make this leap?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of people, even when we hire, that comes from, for example, their degree might be in arts or a very different discipline, and then they end up into a data analyst or a data scientist role. I guess one of the things it will help to add is whether you have participated in projects or you have like the aspiration or you want to develop the skills towards a particular role if you make the leap. So you don't have, then definitely not required to have like a commercial experience. It could be like an open source project you worked on, or maybe a short placement you've done, things like that we're looking in for.
So Abdulrahman, a similar question, anything you'd recommend?
Yeah, so basically none of my team did anything data related in their degrees. So I'm a civil engineer, my manager's a chemical engineer, his manager did economics. Another team, the head of department did medical engineering. and then everyone's an engineer. We have a saying at THG, if you want an analyst, get an engineer. That's not to like say that other degrees are not as good, but when it comes to like engineering, you can guarantee there's the analytical aspect. But as Daria said, you don't really need to have anything technical in your background. Most companies would rather just have you as a clean slate and then they'll train you from zero. Most companies are preferring that. So my colleague who just left us, he did both his degrees in marketing. He did really well as an analyst, and now he's going to be a data engineer. So it's like you don't really have to have any analytical skills to breach the data field. You just have to have an open mind and, as Daria said, be interested.
Indeed. Now, I'm conscious that it's getting closer to the hour, which means we may get people heading off for their 1 o'clock lecture. I am going to throw in one other resource for any social science students in the room who do want to capitalize on trying to break into this area. The Q-Step program, which I'm just putting a link to in the chat now, can be a really interesting way to explore this. Quantitative internships for social science students. So that can be an interesting scheme to look at. There's been various mentions of the differences between data science analysis and engineering. Does anybody want to give us a potted kind of what is the difference between those three things?
Yeah, happy. At least in our organization, in some cases it can overlap and it can be blurry. Actually, it's easy to move from one side to the other. I have to say, we have data analysts that they do data engineering tasks as well as data scientists that have to do data engineering tasks as well. Data engineering is more around how you set up the infrastructure, your data warehouse, and how you work your data pipeline. For example, how you collect your data, how you clean them, and how you load them, all these various steps into your data warehouse. Then data analysis is more around towards the end of this process, where basically how they can tap into your data warehouse, they can query the data, they can make combine the data, they can make useful insights, and they can build Tableau dashboards, or they can build other graphs or other business outputs which are communicated to various stakeholders. And then data scientist is another layer on top of that, where basically they take advantage of all the data that they leave in the data warehouse, as well as other external data sets, and then basically they build, they train models based on the requirements within your data warehouse, which is then can be put into production. Like it could be a recommendation engine, for example, if it's around content. It's something I built, for example, with iPlayer team when I was working with their recommendations team. So I have worked as a data architect, I've worked as a data analyst, as a data engineer, and as a data scientist in multiple phases. So these can blur, but sometimes they are dedicated roles for that.
Fair enough. Daria, Abdulrahman, anything you want to throw in to kind of illustrate your take on this?
I'm glad Eleni answered this because she summarized it perfectly. Because like analysts, again, we provide visualization. We've got the data. We show it to the stakeholder. Scientists, they like at THG, the bread and butter of the scientist is forecasting. Like they use neural networks to plug in data, and then boom, they can accurately estimate growth. And then engineers, again, I am blessed to have amazing engineers. I'm pretty sure Eleni is an amazing engineer. They give us clean, like amazing data all the time, just so we can power our dashboards.
Smashing. Daria, is there another take on this? Have we covered it all?
No, I think that's quite straightforward. Okay.
I fear we are getting towards. Oh, hang on, there is another question that's come in. We are a few minutes to the hour, and I'm conscious that yeah, we've got an hour for the session, and people have got to be different places. So I do just want to finish on one question for our panel, which is if people wanted to follow up with you, are you all to be found on LinkedIn? Are you happy for people to find you there? Are there better ways, for example? Anything else you'd suggest if they do want to follow up after the session?
Yeah, LinkedIn, right? I think we've linked on the chat, but if not, you can just my name is on LinkedIn. So yeah, I can post my LinkedIn profile here as well, as we did in the other room. I'm not sure if it's posted here, but yeah, feel free to message.
Smashing. Thank you all. That's great to have, because yeah, it just provides some onward networking for everybody in the room. Apologies we didn't get to that that final question there. So yeah, I think then we are gonna probably close the session here. Thank you everybody for your questions. Thank you panelists for your contributions, for giving us your insight and generally just bringing this this walk of life to life. And we hope that there's been some inspiration for everybody in the room in terms of what this is likely to be like and whether they enjoy it themselves. And for those of you who are the audience members who are still in the session, please use what you've learned here to write richer applications, to have a better sense of where you might want to go within data engineering, data science, or whichever other part of the sector that might be. But we're going to close there. Thank you for coming. And panelists, if you want to stick around, we'll just make sure everybody is settled and done. And yeah, that'll be it. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you later.